going to talk about research and creative projects. And like Cara mentioned, we're part of the Office of Connected Learning, and which is 5 units currently. And we're here to basically connect students to what we call high impact practice. This is opportunities that just basically enhance your college experience and help you build skills while you're in college and hopefully prepare you for your next journey, whether it's graduate school or working, in a job or community service of some sort. So that's what our office is focused on. A little bit about me. My name is Sarah, she, hers, and I am a first-generation college grad. I am very proud of that. It took me a really long time to get my degree, which I got from UW-Bothell. I graduated in 2015 with my biology degree. And I need to move this little slide here. So one thing that I realized as I was getting close to graduation was that I was starting to prepare my resume, and I remember this January before I graduated in June, and I realized I really didn't have very much to put on my resume. Even though I was a little bit older than most of my peers, I had plenty of work and business background, but I really didn't have anything in the field that I was interested in going into. And so I kind of scrambled to put some stuff on my resume, and I decided that I would do that through independent projects. And so I actually did 5 projects. One was a research project where I studied a plant, and I'll show a couple pictures of that later. And then I did a couple of independent studies. And so I worked with a total of 2 professors, and I am proud to say my senior year, spring quarter, I did not have to take a single final exam. They were all independent projects. I had to do some presentations and papers, but it was totally worth it. And that's the reason why I'm here, because I'm very passionate about this. My focus is in botany and plant taxonomy, and I work for 2 offices, both the sponsored research office and the connected learning office. And I am proud to say I am both an artist and a science nerd, which we'll learn about a little bit. I do have one thing. There's a picture on here. This is of a pressed herbarium sample lab called the UW-Bothell Herbarium on campus. And so I also have some opportunities for students under certain circumstances. That is a place that you can certainly go and do either an independent study or a research project. Jay is going to be doing this presentation tomorrow, and this will possibly be my last presentation to give to students, because we have hired and filled his new position as the research and creative projects manager. And I hope my internet's okay. Yeah, so he provides advising. You can certainly connect with him to learn more. Jay, do you want to say hi?
Hello, everybody. I'm glad to be here, and I'm looking forward to talking to you tomorrow.
Great.
Thank you, Sarah.
Okay, there is, oh, there it is. It's loading up. We won't cover this today, but there's a really fun video. It's on the research page, and you can go into the slides and look at this too, but it's a little story. It has 3 stories about 3 different students who did both research through STEM, research through IAS, and research like a creative project as an artist. And so if you're trying to connect with any student stories, this would be a really great video to watch. So one question is, what is undergrad research? And basically this is the investigation of a question, topic, or method by using the scientific method. This includes, it can be quite vast. It can include projects with, let's say, a control and a variable. It can include surveys and assessments as well. This picture here is a photo of Dr. Ursula Valdez in IAS. She does bird surveys, and this is her working with 2 students doing a survey at the UW-Bothell wetlands. That's on campus. Creative practice is the development or practice of skills in the creative arts to make new projects or collections. So this may include writing, poetry, design, film, art, anything in the humanities, and much more. So as I showed that herbarium sample, that was technically a creative practice or an independent study that I did, where I wasn't like setting up science experiments. I was collecting items for science, but managing that collection. So that kind of fell under that more creative practice concept. So the first thing that we recommend is that you find an investigator or a mentor, and we have a couple of tools available. One is an opportunities database where there's about 60, 70 projects that faculty have listed about what their interests are. And so you can reach out to them through that and kind of find out what their projects are and if they're recruiting actively, or basically you just want to contact them and see if they have any availability that you could work with them. There's some resources on our Research and Creative Projects website. As Cara mentioned before, there is research available through the CBLR classes, and connecting with a faculty member through that might be a good way to get involved in a research or creative projects project. Of course, ask your favorite professors. And then you can also find a mentor in the professional community. So somebody at like a nonprofit or that's doing the job that you want to do. Maybe you can ask them to be a mentor and start up a project with them. There's options for participation. You can do it many different ways. So the first one is you can volunteer your time. So the nice thing about that is that you can set your hours and say, I have 5 hours a week to dedicate to this, and this is what I want to do. In that case, presentations are optional. I know some people get anxiety about that, but this is pretty fun to do. I did do this when I was a student. I worked with Snohomish County Parks on a wetland assessment. And so that was something that I just did. The university didn't know about it, but it was a great way to enhance my education and skill set. You can do this as a research credit or for independent study. And basically those are done, you have to pay for the class, and then you get your faculty mentor that checks in with you, and you are required to work so many hours during the quarter. So normally it's like about 3 hours per credit, and this can count toward graduation. So if I was a STEM student, so in that case, I needed 5 credits in order to graduate with a research credit to count as my research credit class. And so I worked on a research project specifically for that. So I paid for the class and I got the credits, but it was still my project, and I worked with a faculty mentor. The other way that you can do research or a creative project is to actually apply for a position. So there are faculty who get paid by, let's say, National Science Foundation or the Bill Gates Foundation. And so they have money to hire students. So if you can find those funded positions, you get paid for them. They might be a little bit more rigorous or competitive, and you might have to apply for them. But certainly ask one of your, if you're developing a relationship with a faculty member, certainly ask them if that's something they might have in the future or currently. So some of the benefits of doing these, well, it might seem like more work. The nice thing is that you can meet people. Now, I'm very introverted. I like to stay at home and work on my projects, and even going to class was a little bit too much for me. But the nice thing about these projects is that you can meet other students who have similar interests to you. You can meet other faculty, mentors or advisors. You can meet experts in the community. So this project here, I have some pictures here of the Wapato project that I worked on. Wapato is a native plant that grows in wetlands in this area and is a very important food source for Native Americans all over Western US. And so I worked on this project about reintroducing it to the Tulalip tribes area, the reservation there. And so I got to meet some people in the community that I worked with very closely, and that was a really great experience for me. Even on this study, people still reach out to me about the work that I did because I just published it on my own site. But people in the community know, oh, this person worked on this project, and just strangers will reach out to me. So that's a pretty fun opportunity several years later. Obviously, you're going to learn new skills. So these are skills that are not necessarily taught in class, and these can be highly applicable in future careers. Like I said, building relationships with investigators. I've got two pictures here. One is Dr. Jeff Jensen. We did a creek survey on campus. And then this is Darla from the Tulalip tribes. And she was a wetland scientist that I got paired up with for this Wapato project. So not only did I get to meet them, and they took the time to really develop me and my skills, but they ended up being references and providing referrals and connections when I was looking for employment later in my field. And then in addition to all of this, you can also have some opportunities. So there could be opportunities to go, either you learn about presentations that are happening or conferences or workshops, or you can present your work at these presentations and conferences. And then also you participating in the research or your project may open up doors for awards and scholarships that you otherwise wouldn't have if you weren't doing this kind of work. In the case of that Wapato project, Darla invited me to a conference. I actually submitted my project, and they paid me $500 to come to the conference, and they gave me an award, and I was able to present my work. So that was pretty good for 3 months worth of work, I'd say. So symposiums and conferences, this is a pretty fun thing, and I definitely recommend that you at least do this once when you're a student. This is a symposium is basically where your research is presented, and this top picture I have here is the Mary Gates Hall, and this is the UW Seattle Undergrad Research Symposium. Now, this symposium is for both those creative works and also for science. And you can do it in poster format, which is pretty traditional, or you can do it as an oral presentation or like a live presentation. So both of these options are available. The conference is in May, and we encourage all of our Bothell students to go and present there. If you're not able to make it to this spring symposium, many of the schools also have their own research or their capstone presentations. So I know School of STEM has a pretty standard one at the end of every quarter. All the students will bring their presentations and posters and present on campus here at UW Bothell. And there's been virtual options too, obviously, in the last 2 years. Not only do we have options on campus and, for the whole UW, there are opportunities to go to these field specific conferences. So like I mentioned, I had gone to the one that was interesting to me, the Society of Wetland Scientists conference. I had another student who used to give this presentation, and he presented at the Gravitational Wave Astronomy Northwest conference. So there are collectives that have people that are interested in your field of interest, and so go and reach out to them, find out when their conference is. And I will tell you, there is so much money for students to go to these travels. There's travel scholarships to go to these conferences, so definitely look around. They are certainly available. I know, like I said, for me, because I'm a plant nerd, the Society of Wetland Scientists, they have scholarships. The Washington Native Plant Society, we're always trying to get students to, go to either any of our conferences or present their work. And there's also, for UW specific, there's this one, the Founders Fellow Award, and that one is UW specific. So let's say there is, like this Astronomy Northwest conference, and they don't have any funding for students. You can apply for this Founders Fellow Award that is for UW students, and they might be able to fund you and your trip to go to this conference. So that's something to think about. There's plenty of money out there, so you just have to kind of look around for it. All right, so besides presenting your work at a conference, you can also publish your work in written or digital format. It looks like my slides moved around a bit. Okay, the crow is Yuda Bothell. This is generally more of a sciencey article. And this can be any type of science. So you can submit your work and it's reviewed and then put into print format. I don't know if there's a digital format for this one. Field Notes is a UW Seattle environmental journal for undergraduates. So that's another place that you can publish your work. And then Clamor is one that's more specific for arts. And there is a web format. So if you do, they have like poetry and photography, and on their website, they have a space for film or video as well. So those are all three places that are within UW for undergraduates for you to publish your work, which is really great if you can get that published. That's a nice accomplishment. You can also look for something in your field. So, plant nerd again. This one here is through the Washington Native Plant Society. I didn't know that this was an option when I was a student. I have published in this journal after I graduated. So Yuda Bothell is featured in here, but I never knew that that was an option as a student. So I just like bringing that up. If there's some organization that shares similar values or academic interest as you, look them up and see if they have something that you can publish in. I also had a student, that same student, he actually had some peer-reviewed work that he worked on with his professor, and he got published before he graduated in this astrophysical journal. So publishing doesn't necessarily mean peer-reviewed. You can still have some not peer-reviewed articles, and then also commentaries or stories. People definitely want to hear about your experience as a student, so definitely keep that in mind. Okay, and I think that's all I have for today. Here are some links. We have our website and our Connected Learning office, and then we recommend that you reach out to your faculty, ask them if they can provide any advice. I put Jay's and my emails here. And then the last thing I wanted to say was, my advice is don't wait until you are a senior in your spring quarter to get started. Like, definitely there are opportunities for you to get started as a freshman. I came in as a transfer student. I could have gotten started my junior year and I just didn't know better. So definitely recommend that. That's all I got for today. And yeah, we can talk about questions if there's anybody that has anything.